I was wrong. Okay, time to talk about the new episode of WandaVision. If you have not seen the new episode of WandaVision, then get out. What are you doing here? Why are you here? You know what this is. This is spoilers right now. I'm not going to be reviewing anything. I just want to talk about the episode. And in talking about it comes spoilers. That is your warning. Now get out of here. Of course, unless you just don't care about spoilers, then please, you're free to watch. Please. So the first thing I want to say about this episode is that I honestly think that it's the weakest so far. It's still a good episode. Don't get me wrong. It is. It's a good episode. But of all the ones we've had so far, even with the big reveal at the end, and we will talk about that, this one felt the most like filler. And in a show that only has 9 episodes, I don't want any of those episodes to feel like filler. Now, to be fair, I might just be disappointed and salty, really, because the big ending that we had in the last episode where Wanda just blasted that huge radius with the hex and brought all these people in and then just shot Pietro, and that whole episode was just bonkers. This one was much more toned down, and I guess with I don't want anything to tone down at this point. We're almost at the end. I want it to keep rising, you know what I mean? And plus, we don't get any payoff with this astrophysicist or whatever that Monica was talking about in the past couple of episodes. We don't get any payoff for that. So either they're just continuously teasing us to the point where it's going to just, whenever it is revealed, whoever it is, I'm still holding on to it being Reed Richards. Because there's no way it was just that random soldier who was there and greeted them. There's no way. No way. It's still 100% Reed Richards. So I guess I'm just a little salty. Monica does finally just go full photon in this one, which I thought was cool. Like, she looks badass with those blue, like those just bright blue eyes. That looked super cool. There was something, like, whenever she was going through the hex and, like, she was, like, splitting up into all these different versions of herself, and there was something about that sequence that seemed a little cheesy. Honestly, it felt a little cheesy, especially when her eyes finally turned blue and she was all like, I was just like, okay, we got it. But even Wanda, when she tried to just slam Monica down and she caught herself, and Wanda was like, oh, you're not supposed to be able to do that. So that was, I really look forward to whatever is going to come from Monica. But none of those things are what everyone is talking about. I'm actually shocked that more people aren't talking about the Monica thing. I mean, okay, not really, because they kind of blew their wad early with saying that, with Darcy telling Monica that her molecular structure had been rewritten twice. So they kind of blew it early with that. And forgive me if I don't talk a lot about Darcy and Vision's little road trip, because not a lot came out of that. There were a couple of funny moments, because this episode is The Office and Modern Family, which aren't really shows that I like a lot. I like Modern Family more than I like The Office, but neither of them are really anything that I'd give a shit about. But there were a couple of funny moments, I'm not gonna lie. But mainly, there's the fact that I have to admit that I was wrong. Channing? Yeah. Roll the clip. Right. Of people theorizing that Agnes is actually, I think the character's name is Agatha, who is a witch, and they're pointing to the fact that Agnes knows all of this stuff that's happening. She's well aware of it. I don't think she might have been as big of a potential player as even I initially thought. She might be. She still might be, but I don't think it's going to be this Agatha character because, first, a witch. I mean, sure, we have Scarlet Witch, but nobody calls her that, and she's not an actual witch. This Agatha character is a, pointy hat and boiling cauldron type of witch. I don't think they're going to do that. I look like a fool! Jesus Christ. Looking back at everything, how could I not realize that this is where it was going? How could I be so ignorant to say that there's no way that she's Agatha? Her name is Agnes, for Christ's sake. Agatha? Agnes? That's not even clever. I was blinded by my belief that they wouldn't bring a witch into the franchise? Oh, you mean the show that has Norse gods and talking raccoons and trees and villainous robots? Oh, and magic? Are we just forgetting about Doctor Strange, Brandon? His whole thing is magic. Oh, but they're not gonna bring a boiling cauldron witch into the... What do you mean? Doctor Strange is a freaking sorcerer. What do you mean they're not gonna bring a witch into it? I am so stupid. So yes, Agnes is Agatha Harkness. And I was wrong. Hell, they might actually bring Mephisto into it. Who knows? I don't anymore. And Agatha Harkness is a big part of Scarlet Witch's whole thing. So what part of me was convinced, just so convinced, that I went on a kind of tirade about it, that they weren't going to bring her in? Alright, whatever. Agatha. I wonder how dark they're going to get with this right now, because if I remember correctly, I know now that I have at least a couple of comic book nerds watching these videos. Correct me if I'm wrong, or let me know if I'm right. But I'm fairly certain Agatha Harkness eats Scarlet Witch's children. And that kind of she, when she's taking the twins away from Wanda, she's like, don't worry, I won't bite. And then in the talking head portion, she's like, I actually did bite a kid once. Did she eat those kids? She ate them kids, didn't she? And there's also the fact that her rabbit's name is Senior Scratchy. Agatha Harkness's son is named Nicholas Scratch. I'm a moron, dude. So do you think her son has just been posing as a rabbit this whole time? Or do you think it's just a nod? Also, there's 100% something weird going on with the mailman, right? Because he's only shown up 3 times, and it always seems to just be in the most, at times where something is going on with Wanda. At first, I'm fairly certain he showed up when she found the colorized helicopter toy, and then he showed up again whenever the dog died and her kids were like, you can bring the dog back. He showed up again there a little bit before they found the dead dog, but still. And now he shows up again whenever Wanda is facing off with Monica. So something's going on with that mailman. I don't know what it is. Do you think he's Nicholas? Is he Nicholas Scratch? I don't know anymore. And granted, I don't know enough about Agatha to know if this is an obvious answer to what I'm about to ask. But what was with the cicada? Whenever Monica was in the house and she was like, where are my kids? There was the cicada on the window. Did one of the Did one of the kids turn into a cicada? Nah, she definitely ate those kids. But what is with the cicada? Is that like a witch thing? Cicadas? I mean, cicadas are weird ass bugs, but I don't know. It was weird. I was also wondering this whole episode where Pietro was, because obviously Monica doesn't trust him anymore. She's done with this Pietro. I put air quotes because I don't even know anymore. But he shows up in the mid-credit scene. We get our first mid-credit scene, and it's been like a thing this whole time that these credits are just way too long. But we are just now getting our first mid-credit scene, and it seems like it's nothing, but obviously it shows Monica finding her way into Agatha's little lair, and Pietro walks up and he's like,
Snooper's gonna snoop.
so is he just like there for the ride now? Because I thought whenever it was the whole Agatha did it all along or whatever song, it was Agatha all along.
Who's been messing up everything?
It's been Agatha all along.
That when it showed that she brought Pietro, I was like, oh, so he's just flat out not real. He's just gone. He's donezo now. But no, he's still here. He's just hanging out, I guess. So I'm even more curious as to what's going to happen with that. So while I thought that this was the weakest episode, it was obviously still a pretty good episode. I just want more payoff, I guess, whenever we have such a big episode as episode 6. This one felt like a step back. And I guess really, as I'm saying it, we do need a step back. It can't just keep rising the entire time. There does need to be a breather. So I guess I just kind of proved my own point wrong. But either way, what did you guys think of the new episode of WandaVision? Do you think that Agatha is going to teach Wanda in the ways of magic like she does in the comics? Do you think Wanda is going to fight back against Agatha? Do you think Pietro is on the good guy's side? Do you think he's just along for the ride? Do you think he's just hanging out? Or do you think he's one of the villains? Whatever you think, let me know down in the comments. Go ahead and check out my social media. The links to all of that will be down in the description. But before you do any of that, go ahead and hit the like and the subscribe so that I can see you guys next time.